and we'll try this time. How's it going, John?
It is going well. It is going well tonight. The weather has been awesome. Yeah. How about you? How you doing?
Things are good. Like you said, the weather's been great. We spent this weekend, my boy and I, going out and checking out the yard, turned on the water for the sprinklers. We haven't actually run the sprinklers other than we tested all the sprinklers, found out which heads are still functioning, which ones are broken. So we've started in with that. So it's that time of year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been I got a bunch of starts going in the greenhouse. So some lettuce and peppers and flowers. Pretty much lettuce, peppers, and flowers.
Nice.
So
nice.
And I guess I planted some radishes out in the actual garden because they like cool weather. But yeah, spring's coming. I love spring. I get all excited about these things that I want to do that I don't have time for, and then I abandon, or they just decay. My excitement at planting things in the garden is awesome, and then my follow through on weeding is not so much. So anyway, but it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
So some random exciting news for me that you'll just roll your eyes at.
Okay, my eyes are prepared to roll.
So I have pretty decent internet. We have Fios.
Okay.
And on, what was it, Sunday, I think it was, or Saturday. I think it was Saturday evening. Occasionally the internet will just go out. And I am paying for gigabit up, gigabit down load speeds, but I'm averaging about 200 megabit. I know, rough.
I know. Yeah. I'm very sympathetic to you.
And so the internet went down. The internet goes down randomly, like for 30 seconds. And we've never been able to figure out why, because it comes back before I can diagnose anything. Well, Saturday night, it went down, and it was down for 20 minutes.
Ooh.
And I thought, okay, this has been down for a while now. I did all my debugging bits and couldn't find it. So I called and got in a queue and said, hey, my internet's down. The guy ran a few tests and said, okay, we'll send somebody out. But after all the tests he had ran, we got the internet back up and running. And instead of getting 200 megabits, I was getting in the 800 megabits.
You're like, what did you do?
I know, because I had called them several times before, and I was always told, well, the internet is not that great, blah, 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 blah. And I asked him what. He said, well, I reset a bunch of things here to try to make sure it was working. And I'm like, okay, don't change. Leave it. And so far it's
stayed high.
It stayed relative. It's now, in the 600s and 500s. And then if I'm on a Wi-Fi, it gets slower, but direct connect is getting pretty decent speed, so I can't complain. Wow. But then they said they sent somebody out on Monday to just look at the equipment, because he said, there's something not quite right. I'm seeing an error, and I don't know, we'll have to send somebody out. So they sent a tech out. And the tech was like, why is all your stuff out on the outside of your house? This should be on the inside of your house. And I'm like, I don't know. That's where they put it. So he's like, well, we're going to move it all to the inside of your house where it's, not, it's in a weatherproof box on the outside.
Yeah.
But he's like, we don't do that. You put it on the inside of the garage. And I'm like, okay.
It just like there's a wire that goes into the garage from the outside anyway, right? So
exactly.
As far as you're
concerned. I didn't care which side of the garage it was on.
Okay.
So anyways, so he put all the stuff on the inside, and the speeds are still high. Although he did get rid of it had a little mini UPS or power supply. It wasn't a very big box, but there was a box that I plugged in on the inside of the house that then the thing on the outside came through and plugged into that. And that thing went away, and now it's just like a little tiny, like the plug adapter for like a phone,
like a
or
wall
something.
wart, just a tiny.
Yeah, the wall wart that goes directly in. So I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I don't care. It all works. I still have high speeds. It now makes more sense to me as to where the wires go and what they do, because now everything's on the inside of the house, and it looks like, okay. Or the inside, it's the inside of the garage. So it's, anyways. So that was my exciting weekend.
That's, the sympathy for you is oozing out of my pores at the moment. So, I will say, as I was camping a couple weeks ago, and we did not have, I had set up a Wi-Fi hotspot so we could do essentially LAN games, but I was thinking, when I get my Starlink, assuming that I get that, that would be awesome to have it be portable. Because I guess I presume that I can basically just take that with me. Because I've seen videos of people just setting them up in their...
right, out in the wilderness.
In their driveways, was what I was going to say. But, yeah. So
I exaggerated a little bit.
Yeah. But I'll be curious about that. Well, I have two sort of intro fun how you doing follow-ups. Or maybe a couple. The first of which is I was complaining last week on the podcast that I was doing something wrong with my 3D printer, that I had replaced the FEP, or the transparent film on the bottom, a couple of times, and then I would print and it would delaminate, and I just could not figure it out. And I'm like, I'm doing something wrong, but I don't know what it is. And I figured out what I'm doing wrong. And I feel a bit sheepish. Because it turns out, and thanks to a YouTube video for this, but it turns out there's a protective film on top of the protective film on both sides of it. And so before I installed it, I was supposed to peel the plastic or the saran wrap off of it and then install it. And I did not. And so it was actually that protective film that was delaminating every time and driving me crazy. And so, yes, it was a problem exists between printer and chair. So, yep, that's me. My bad. So I've had a bunch of successful prints since then. It's currently dead, or on an unsuccessful print that was a really long one, and I was starting to hear this kind of groaning noise from the motor going up and down, and I was like, so I ordered a set of tools off Amazon to make it easier to change. And so when they get here, I'm gonna take it apart, kind of blow out the motor, and make sure there's nothing stuck in there. Maybe put some it's not lithium grease, but the dry lubricant that you can spray in keyholes. Put a little bit of that on there, and change the FEP for real. Because in realizing that, and in my experimentation, I just kind of tore it off, and so I haven't actually replaced it, which means that the quote unquote protected underneath is still there. So there's actually a little bubbles underneath it. So I got to get that gone, and then I think I'm anyway.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm the problem. That's okay. I will fix that. And then my second little bit of follow-up from last week is fun follow-up is a couple things. So the guy came over on Saturday to help with the bee quarter, and so that was cool. I mean, he dropped it off. He kind of showed me everything, and he's a total hardware person, right? Like, he designed the board, had a bunch of them printed,
right?
Kind of, and then it was working on software. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a software person. He's like, yeah, this software stuff is hard. I'm like, but then he slacked me, IM'd me a little bit later in the day, saying, I'm sorry, I discovered a bug. It's totally not going to work. which I'm like, good, because it wasn't registering values for me, and I had not figured out why yet. And so anyway, so he's going to come back over this next Tuesday or this next Saturday with he said with a debug board and a soldering iron, and I'm like, okay, we're good to go. So we'll see. And then after he left, I went and did my first like real inspection on all my colonies, and what I had thought were doing really well, because I kind of just popped the box last night and was like, yeah, there's bees in there. There's, that's awesome. Like, Hive 0 is doing good. Hive 1, like, I could not find the queen. There were almost no bees alive. There were a few, but not many. And I couldn't see any brood other than drone brood. Wasn't a ton of drone brood, but like drone laying workers is like a problem. Kind of a classic problem. So Hive 2 is awesome. That's my crazy booming hive. So I gave Hive 1 a couple of frames to kind of let them hopefully make their own queen, make a new queen. And so I'll go in there this next Saturday, hoping to find some closed queen cells. So we'll see. I'll be trying on that. So Hive 2 was awesome. Hive 3, I could not find the queen. And there were nowhere near as many bees in there as I thought there were. And there was a queen cell with its side torn out, which is kind of weird. I did not see another one. Anyway, so I'm worried about that one too. So I also gave them a couple of frames. And so I'll be checking on those in another few days. And then, so Hive 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. And then Hive 4 was dead. Hive 5, I found the queen. Not a lot of bees, but there was queen and brood in there, so I just kind of let them be. So, but the weak one, it's ironic. The weak one is the one that still has a queen for sure, and the strong one was the one that still has a queen for sure. I didn't actually pull out all the frames and look for it in Hive 0, but
okay.
Anyway, so I thought I was like doing awesome. Yeah. Not doing super awesome, so, but we'll see. And I made a Snellgrove board. Like, that was the thing that I was thinking about making last week, and so I totally made one this weekend, which is kind of a fancy piece of equipment that's like it's made to trick the bees. It's kind of it's kind of cool. It's kind of technical, but it's because it's like a double screen dividing board. So like there's like a 3/4 of an inch so that the bees with screen so that the bees can't touch and pass their pheromone. But then on 3 of the sides, there's 2 doors. There's a door into the top part and a door into the bottom part. And so over like every 7 days, like if you use this, like basically what you're doing is you're tricking the bees that hatch out on the top, all the foragers that graduate to field bees, and they go out and they leave from an entrance, and then like every 7 days you come back and you close the top entrance on whatever side that is, open up the bottom one, and then open up the top entrance on one of the other sides, so that the bees that had left kind of say on the right side in the morning, they left out of the top box out of the right side in the morning, they go out, they fly, they come back with nectar, and then you've closed the hole that they know how to get into, but you've opened up another one just like an inch away. So they're like, oh, this is where to go. But it kind of forces them into the bottom box to store honey. So you basically force all of your brood rearing into the top, and you force all of your field bees to the bottom to do nothing but store honey. It's kind of like a sweatshop for bees. I don't know.
I was going to say that. doesn't sound like that would fly in other industries.
But anyway, so it's. I mean, my wife's like, leave the bees alone and just let them be and work. And I'm like, no, I got to experiment with them and play.
I'm A/B testing my bees.
I'm totally doing that. So yeah, I'm very much not a just let it sit there and do whatever they want to do. I'm totally like always playing with them and learning. Like, the thing is, they're so technical. It's awesome. Okay, anyway, that's way too much bee talk.
All right, so jump into some follow-up?
Yeah. We better get going on something other than bees.
So I didn't really want to talk much about the articles, but last week we talked about the LoRaWAN articles from Trend Micro. Part 2 and 3 are now out. So I figured we'd throw those links in just to reread. The part 2 is talking about the communication, and part 3 is actually figuring out some hardware attacks. But the best part of it is there is a tool that they've released, if you want to play this yourself, called LoRa Craft. Which, there you go. Why not?
Nice.
So
nice.
LoRa Craft is a small set of tools, to be able to receive those signals, decode, and then start doing some messing with the radio module. So anyways, a fun tool, and it's on GitHub, of course. So that's really all I wanted to say about that follow-up.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the LoRa Craft. Okay, all right, that's cool. All right, well, hopefully I will have a working LoRa gateway this coming weekend, since I don't have one this past weekend, but hopefully.
There you go.
Okay, cool.
All right.
How about a topic? What'd you bring tonight?
So my topic this week is in a role reversal. I posted this one the day after you posted it in Slack. Yeah,
I gotta win. I gotta win one sometime.
I'm stealing it anyways. This one is GitHub is investigating some crypto mining campaigns that are abusing its server infrastructure. And I think we have mentioned before about GitHub's actions.
Yep.
The ability on a pull request or anything like that to have something execute on GitHub servers. Run a bunch of unit tests. There's lots of reasons why you want to use that. You would want to use GitHub Actions, and there's tons of GitHub Actions that are out there.
Yeah.
Well, of course, as soon as there are tons of GitHub Actions out there, enterprising people are going to figure out how to abuse it because it's free CPU on some level. So there have been some attacks that are going out and finding all the GitHub projects that have GitHub Actions enabled. And then what the attacker does is he or she forks that repository, adds their malicious code into the GitHub action, and then creates a pull request. Now, if I look at that as a engineer for a specific project, I look at the pull request and I go, oh, that's malicious. I'm not going to accept it, that's great. However, if you have set up your GitHub Actions to actually run a bunch of tests or whatnot on a pull request,
automation,
it will run that automation on the content of the pull request. So what that means
just
is
submitting the pull request is enough to get you some amount of Monero.
Exactly. So once you've created this pull request, it kicks off the automated job, and then it reads in the attacker's code, spins up the virtual machine, and then, of course, what it's going to do is run some cryptocurrency mining software for free on GitHub's infrastructure. So without anything, and you could set up some automation to run these pull requests across all public projects that have GitHub Actions enabled on pull requests, or you don't even have to have them enabled on pull requests, because part of the GitHub Action workflow says when should I run whatever it is, and you can say I want it to run on every pull request. And if you check that in, it's going to run. So that was my.
So, yeah. I mean, obviously, you can ban people that are found doing this, but it's trivial to create new GitHub accounts.
Right. Yeah. So it's now GitHub playing whack-a-mole, because you just register new accounts once the old ones are deleted. And, the thing is, it doesn't damage the user's project. So it's not, it's just kind of a nuisance to the user. They just have a pull request that they're not going to approve, but it is absolutely abusing and taking advantage of GitHub's Actions infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right. At some point, somebody's got to pay the bill for the VMs, etc. So
other people's computers,
other people's money. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's what I pulled out this week.
Yeah.
Fun with GitHub Actions.
Yeah, that is tricky. Yeah, any time. Boy, yeah, people are like dandelions. Any crack in the pavement. Like I can grow there.
That's the other thing I did this weekend. I bought a bunch of weed killer because my lawn somehow sprouted thousands. And you know what my patch of lawn looks like. It was almost covered. There was not 1 square foot that didn't have at least one dandelion in it. I don't know how.
Yeah.
They're all dead or dying now, though.
Did you used a broadleaf on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did a minor side. This is going to be a mostly not security episode, I think. Because 2 of my other projects this past weekend, because it was Easter, so actually we had a long weekend. But I have been battling this fungus on peaches. So like my peach trees for the last couple of years have been just terrible, and they're not healthy. And I might need to just kill them and get a new tree there. But Oregon's not a great place to grow peaches. But there's a copper sulfate that you can spray that basically kills the fungus and is an organic thing. And the last 2 years, I've been like out there with a little spray bottle trying to spray the tree. And this year I was like, well, that just didn't seem like it did anything. Let me try something different. And I got like one of those hose things the things on the end of a hose. Oh my gosh, it's done such a better job. I'm hopeful. I'm not super optimistic, but I'm at least hopeful. And I've done that 3 times. Anyway, there's
these are the trees your buddy the tree whisperer came over and yanked on.
Yes.
These are the same trees.
Yes, these are the trees that he.
You still believe in these trees?
Jiggled.
I thought he didn't.
No,
the tree jiggler. That's right.
He was not. He's like, well, you can try, and
okay,
and he's also super organic man, and I'm mostly organic man. So, if this doesn't work, then next year I'm going with a non-organic treatment, because I believe in chemistry, so it's okay. So anyway, right. So then the other thing I did is I've got this like total MacGyver setup for spraying, because I have to spray. I mean, I don't know what else you're supposed to do. I have a parking lot basically for like in front of the barn, and it's way too big to spray by hand, and yet stuff grows. And so I have I have some wiring. I have a tank that has a pump on it that I use some clamps to clamp to the front bucket of the tractor, And then I, take some wires back to the battery, and then I go up and I kind of clamp a couple pieces of wood together with a little alligator clip, so that from the seat of the tractor, I can use the alligator clip and like turn on the pump that causes the stuff to spray. And it's totally terrible. If anybody else did this, it would be awful, because I've got like a green wire going to the red terminal on the battery, and I wire it up just once or twice a year. And I was thinking about that as I was doing this weekend. I'm like, I've been using this same sort of 4 broken pieces of wood that at some point I've been clamping to, and the same wire for 10 years or longer. I've just got this nice roll of stuff, and I have a little pile of here's my MacGyver spray components, and it takes me 20 minutes to get everything set up, so that it works, and then it takes an hour to do everything. But I don't know how long it would take to do everything by hand. Automation's awesome. But anyway, so I got everything in my parking lot and along my driveway should be dying. And I was wearing ever since I've read all the stuff about Roundup, these days, and I wear a respirator or a N95 mask, and I try to be careful. But I did some experiments. I might have said this on the podcast actually a couple of years ago, but I tried some experiments a couple of years ago using different strengths of vinegar to try to do something like more organic, and I was like, nope. That is not going to fly. So, anyway, that was another thing this weekend. Yes, chemicals were sprayed. Anyway, okay, back to the security part of the mostly security podcast. Okay, what is my topic? I kind of got, I don't know, you call this 2 or 2.5. So, Java. When was the last time you wrote some Java code?
I try not to think about it. It's been a while. Yeah. It's measured in years.
Yeah, I haven't done much in the last few years, not Java, but anyway, there was huge news this week in the Java land, with the Supreme Court ruling that Google won their case basically against Oracle. So Oracle sued Google in 2010 when Google had forked basically Java in order to put it in Android. I think that was why.
Right.
It's been 11 years, but the cool thing about this case, this ruling, is, and I'm going to read a little bit from the actual case itself. Quote, "We reached the conclusion that in this case, where Google re-implemented a user interface, taking only what was needed to allow users to put their accrued talents to work in a new and transformative program, Google's copying of the Sun Java API was a fair use of that material as a matter of law. The Federal Circuit's contrary judgment is reversed. And the case is remanded for further proceedings in conformity with this opinion. It is so ordered." So the key sentence there, Google's copying of the Sun Java's API was a fair use of that material as a matter of law. That is basically, APIs can be copyrighted, but using and re-implementing a set of APIs is, as a matter of law, fair use. That's monumental.
Yeah.
Monumental? Momentous.
Yeah. Because I can't think of any API that, if were this not ruled this way, this would have been a nightmare for anybody trying to build any kind of API.
Or trying to build an interoperability with anything. Yeah. But on the flip side, having this sort of encoded in law as a software developer is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Yes. So, Anyway, I think that is not terribly security related, but as a developer on the planet, pretty darn cool. So,
and then clearly waiting in the wings for that ruling.
Exactly. So that's kind of the half topic, because like I think it was the next day Microsoft announced that they would ship and provide long-term support for builds of OpenJDK, which is open source Java development kit for Java 11 is what they're
not your father's Microsoft,
right? What's
not? Yeah.
Who are you, and what have you done with my Microsoft?
Exactly.
So this is cool. So I mean, one of the problems with after Oracle bought Sun was, they basically changed the previous pretty generous Sun license for distributing the JRE. And so, prior to that, I don't know. I'm talking as if I know everything that I'm talking about, but I am definitely not a lawyer. But prior to that, you were able to ship sort of embedded versions of the JRE that, so if you had a piece of client software or piece of server software that was installed in somebody's environment, you could ship the JRE with it. And
for free.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pay anybody anything.
Well, as far as I know, it was for free. I mean, I guess I was never part of the licensing compliance device, but I know that there was a bunch of kerfuffle when Oracle changed that license, and a lot of places switched looking for an alternative, and they switched to OpenJDK, or OpenJDK was something that was an alternative. But there's lots of companies want to just get a binary build of something, and so having a big company like Microsoft provide that, because there were other kind of quote unquote standard builds of OpenJDK, but having something by Microsoft is going to be interesting if that kind of breathes a little more life into the Java longevity. There's still a lot of stuff that runs Java.
Java's the new COBOL.
Java's
Fortran.
The new COBOL. I installed an app on my Mac the other day that I was like, wait a second, what are you doing? You are totally a Java app. Okay. Okay. It's pretty funny. So Microsoft, in this part, the link in the show notes will be to the Microsoft announcement, but they said that they started more than 18 months ago, and that, it says, quote, over the past 18 months, we contributed more than 50 patches covering areas such as macOS packaging, build and infrastructure, garbage collector fixes, and enhancements for Windows, including the Windows Arch64 port to run on the Windows ARM, and that was significant in enabling the port for macOS on Apple Silicon, etc. And then the other kind of statement that I pulled out of here, which was interesting, it said, Microsoft deploys over 500,000 Java virtual machines internally, excluding all Azure services and customer workloads. So I don't really have an easy way to measure that. Like, is that a lot for a company like Microsoft? I don't know. And how are they measuring that? But anyway.
No idea.
Beaconing? Yeah. Some centralize. I could think of a few security products, ways to kind of monitor that. Anyway, it says more than 140,000 of these JVMs are already based on the Microsoft Build 'em Open JDK. So, and then there was a bunch more information in the link that I'll put in here, including a FAQ of some other questions and why is it Java 11? Will they support Java 8? No. Will they support Java 17? Yes, once it's standardized. But anyway, that was pretty cool, I thought.
There you go.
Okay, and then the second article I pulled out this week is it doesn't actually say it's ransomware, but it's probably ransomware. It says, quote, a malware cyber attack on emissions testing company AppPlus, APPLUS Technologies is preventing vehicle inspections in 8 states, including Connecticut, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Massachusetts, Utah, and Wisconsin. So
what's the 8th?
One,
I mean,
two,
if you're going to say
4, 5,
8 states, 6, including...
Oh, you're killing me.
Why not?
I did not
all?
count that. Well done. Well done.
Which state said we don't want you to say anything? Or declined off? Okay, whatever. Continue.
Well, I have no way of knowing. I have 43 guesses. So that's pretty funny.
Oh man.
Okay. Who knows? Let's see. Unfortunately, we cannot provide a timetable. We know it will not be a matter of hours or days. So, this was, they said at the bottom of this that this was a bleeping computer article that, they had attempted to reach out to the company and they hadn't responded. But, there was comments in here that basically they have to they have to undergo testing with various agencies, and then these are the sorts of machines that are presumably well, I think this depends on the state, whether like Oregon. I think doesn't Oregon DEQ does everything. I've only ever gone to the actual DEQ buildings. But I know in some states,
that's all I've ever done.
Emissions testing is able to be done, at quote unquote normal mechanics shops.
Right.
But
anyway, authorized resellers.
Yeah.
Or whatever the right terminology is.
Yeah. So, but then this is cyber complications entering the real world, because since the outage prevents vehicle owners from having their cars inspected, there's concern that law enforcement may issue citations for lapsed inspections. So they're basically trying to work with the different states and I guess troopers and law enforcement in the different states about not issuing tickets for lack of emissions tests that may have expired during this outage. So,
right.
Bum. I probably would not have qualified for that. I had to go to the emissions. Oh, this is probably a couple of weeks ago, but it was I totally did it like after I realized that my tags had expired. So I think my tags expired in February, and then it was March, and I'm like, oh wait, crap! I gotta go down and anyway.
Right.
So it is what it is. Okay, but anyway, it didn't say in the article it was ransomware. It didn't say in the article what it was, so maybe there'll be some follow up on this, but it's almost certainly ransomware.
I can't imagine what kind of crypto mining you would be doing on machinery run by emission shops if it isn't ransomware. So
yeah. Yeah.
All right. You want to hear about some mutant rabbits?
Mutant rabbits. Okay. Do tell. Mutant rabbits.
So my something fun is, and I'm going with fun because apparently they cause no pain, but there are this breed of rabbits, and in the article that we'll link there's a short little video that walk on their front two legs. So if they're moving very slowly, they kind of hop slowly, but as soon as they need to get moving fast, they go front handstand and start running.
What?
And I know. Did you see the video? Watch. So a team of geneticists have spent some time and figured out, well, we now know what the problem is. And they found that the problem is a mutation in the first chromosome, which causes that affects a bunch of different genes. The proteins are ordinarily produced in inhibitory interneurons that cease communications moving through the body. So basically, it's like someone refusing to answer your calls. So these rabbits, those interneurons were either less present or completely absent. And if it was absent, the rabbits would overflex their hind legs, rendering them incapable of hopping. And so they developed to be able to still move.
They could walk on their hands.
They learned they could walk on their hands.
What?
So I know. The pictures are hilarious, and they're cute
I would
little
totally
bunnies.
think this would be like an onion thing.
No, but here you go, science. So what the article does point out is, so you can actually, as you kind of alluded to there, John, that the handstand is not itself the mutation, but it's a workaround.
Yeah.
Because to the mutation inhibits the animal's main ability to move around once it hits, some minimum speed. And the researcher said that the two-footed locomotion doesn't appear to cause the animals any pain. It's just once they get going a certain speed, the butt goes in the air and they handstand walk it.
Wow.
Anyways,
but like
I thought it
these
was fun.
things can't live in the wild, right? I mean,
no,
that video was not very fast. They wouldn't be able to outrun anything.
No. So yeah. No, but apparently it's a line, and it's been bred since the early 20th century. In 1935, they were discovered, and they've been slowly breeding these rabbits because they were kind of cool. So they're not in the wild.
Huh. Wow. You know what that reminds me of are these what are they called? They're like myotonic goats, like fainting goats. Have you heard of them?
Yeah. The fainting. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when
a buddy of ours has some or had some.
Yeah. so these goats are when they get surprised. So actually, hold on. I actually just Googled them real quick. So it's myotonic, and what does it say? These goats have a recessive gene that makes their skeletal muscles lock up when the animal is startled, causing them to fall over briefly. So basically, a loud noise get them startled, and they totally fall over. So anyway, I don't know if that was bred intentionally. I don't know the history of that. I just know that they're called fainting goats. Yeah.
Well, and maybe it's an apocryphal story, but I had heard that they were bred that way once they were discovered, and they would keep them with their larger flocks as they took them out, in the olden days. And so if the foxes or coyotes came to attack the sheep or whatever, the goats would freeze up, fall over, and be easy prey, and the good animals could escape with the shepherd or whatever.
I have also heard that. I don't know if it's true. So yeah, that could very well be apocryphal. And at least this article that I'm reading doesn't say anything about
story.
it. But it's very good story. Okay, my something fun. I don't know. So I think this just came out today. Is today the 7th? Yes. Yes, today is April 7th. This is a new experiment at Fermilab finds a hint of new particles. Or unknown particles. Ooh. So a long-anticipated announcement by Fermilab's Muon G2 team appears to solidify a tantalizing conflict between nature and theory, but a separate calculation published at the same time has clouded the picture. So, of course, darn you, science! always with the more questions. So. This is cool. This is a super long article that I'm going to put in here, but I thought this was really awesome because it explained the rationale behind the experiment really well, and I didn't know this before reading this article, but there was a great quote in here. I pulled it out, so let me go back to my notes. So what this is about is trying to measure the moment of inertia of a muon, which is a pretty heavy particle. And the quote, one of the quotes is, "For years, both electrons and muons were thought to have G factors," so that's the magnetic moment, "of exactly 2. But then in 1947, so this is like more than 50 years ago, Polycarp Couche and Henry Foley measured the electron's G factor to be 2.00232. The theoretical physicist Julian Schwinger almost immediately explained the extra bits. He showed that the small corrections come from an electron's tendency to momentarily emit and reabsorb a photon as it moves through space. So basically, as the muon's like flying in a circle, if for a bit of time it's not just the muon, it emits a photon and then reabsorbs it, that will change the quote unquote center of gravity, and it basically wobbles. So
right.
There's a comment in here that I really loved. In the 1990s, a team at Brookhaven National Laboratory built a 50-foot wide ring to fling muons around and began collecting data. In 2001, the researchers announced their first results, reporting 2.002331844 for the muon's G factor, with some uncertainty in the final 2 digits. Meanwhile, the most comprehensive standard model prediction, so standard model of physics is what we use to, sort of describe what particles are thought to exist, at the same time gave the significantly lower value of 2.002331839. And then here's the funny quote. "It instantly became the world's most famous 8th decimal place discrepancy." Anyway, I love that quote. So the whole point of this article is that they've now measured this. So last year, okay, let's see, 3 points, I think. Last year, they got together before the results were done, with a bunch of theoretical physicists and came up with the best theoretical number, taking into account all the different possibilities that we know of or hypothesize that it can spontaneously turn into, basically, and what the probabilities of those are, which basically is what impacts the lower significant figures. So last year they came up with a number. This year, they're presenting the results, which are 4.2 significant or standard deviations off of that figure, which is, it says, there was another quote in here that says this is almost the 5 standard deviations that would need, that they expect to do to really declare that there's truly something different here. And then the third point in this, that's kind of what's the thing that casts a dim light on it, is evidently there's another team of physicists that instead of doing the theoretical calculations, have been working on doing an empirical model of the particle interactions, basically simulating what the momentum would be, and using it didn't say exactly what it does, but basically, like, think of like all the weather simulations, right? You take the atmosphere, divide it up into 1 mile cubes, and then use Navier-Stokes equations to figure out like what the pressure in is and what the interactions are, and basically you come up with a model of weather. And you could do that at smaller and smaller physics parts. That's what you would do for fluids, at least. But they're doing this at a particle level, and then they came up with a different term that is more closely matching with the experimental number. So now there's kind of this three-way standoff, or not really standoff, but so you've got the experimental measurement, and then you've got the theoretical prediction and the simulated prediction. But
it's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a cool article. It's a long article. If you want to read about a little more about particle physics, check out the article. And cool. There you go. Something fun. Although my something fun probably should have been the Google Oracle suit, because that's awesome.
That's more fun.
It's more impactful, at least to my day to day. Anyway, all right. Sorry, folks. Too much bee talk. Either that or I cut it all out. I don't know. That's fun.
All right, dude. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Yep. Bye.